Hey everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of BAM Weekly. That's Boris and Matt Weekly, the show where we talk about all things sports. We're hosts. I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour! How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. It is chilly in Toronto, but we've got a lot to discuss. Your buddies, your pals, Scott Stanford here. You're doing a classic BAM episode. Just the vibe of having a coffee or a beer with a couple pals at the, beanery and or local watering hole, and just got talking about the sports that have been sportsin' around the world. And there have been a lot of things going on this week. Crazy NBA trades. There's a football match, an American football match coming up on Sunday. Big baseball signings. Hockey also exists. Boris, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good, man. It is deep Arctic weather here that we're getting in Toronto. It is snowy. It is cold. My ankle hates me. But you know what doesn't hate us? Sports. There's so much to talk about, like you said. Man, what a week it's been, and everything just kicked off last Saturday. You thought Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble was the biggest surprise of Saturday night? Nah! The Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks said, fuck you.
Yes, Boris, as I was prepping for bed, brushing my little tooths, I got a notification on my phone that literally dropped my jaw. The Los Angeles Lakers, ya boys, Boris, acquire Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, basically. I have the full trade loaded up right here. The Los Angeles Lakers receive Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris, blast from the past there. The Mavericks receive Max Christie, Anthony Davis, and a 2029 first-round pick. And the Utah Jazz, on the Jim Cornette cuck chair, they receive Jalen Hood-Schifino and a couple second-round picks. The big marquee thing here, Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Quick reactions to one of the best basketball players alive ending up on your favorite team, buddy.
Man, it is crazy. The Lakers obviously are thinking about the future. I think they really are thinking past LeBron at this point. And you know what? I think that overall it is a great move. I just love how the news, like all of a sudden, now Luka Doncic is such an asshole. He's a lazy player. He's fat. He's useless. I love how all of that started Saturday night.
Yeah, it's a classic lazy textbook of like the business who parts with a talented person. Boris, you've seen it before, where they start. I think we know that, big homie. When they start burying you on the way out. But apparently, Luka is a fat alcoholic, and my response to that is, aren't we all? You know what I mean? This is a 25-year-old kid. It's not even like when he's right or if he takes another step. He's already, at worst, the third best basketball player alive. He's already better than everybody at the sport on the planet except Nikola Jokic and maybe Giannis, maybe Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's it. It's a very short list of players who are better than Luka Doncic. Now, Anthony Davis is certainly a better defensive player, but Anthony Davis is a bigger risk, I would think, to be on the court for the next 7 years than Luka Doncic is. Anthony Davis has a wide array of injury concerns. He has not played a full season in his entire career, I believe. Last year, he played like 75 games, which was a ton for Anthony Davis. But this is a guy who usually plays half the year because he's banged up anyway. So
and he burned
the Mavericks
at the playoffs, right? Like that's
yes,
the thing.
Yeah. Except for the bubble year where the Lakers won the title, he does have a history of burning out in the playoffs. And Luka Doncic brought his team to the finals, not single-handedly, but was the best player on a finals team last season. So this seems like the Mavericks have a real personality clash with Luka Doncic. They did not appreciate the way that he went about his business. Fun-loving, chubby white boy from Slovenia. And they got out of that Luka Doncic business. And yet again, for like the fifth time in our lives, Boris. Some teams' loss is the Los Angeles Lakers gain. Yet again, a generational talent falls into their fucking laps. I hate this world and I want to get off.
I know, right, man? It is crazy. It's you love to hate LA at this point, right? Whether it be the Dodgers or the Lakers. Hell, even the Kings, I'll throw it into this equation. No, but like it's crazy. Yeah, honestly, I am so interested to see the second half of the NBA season for the LeBron Doncic combination. They are going to score. Here's the thing: they're going to score. They're going to allow 130 points a game, but they're also going to score 150. Right? Like that's where we're at with the Lakers.
That's just, and the Lakers did make a supplemental deal acquiring Mark Williams from Charlotte to basically fill the role that Anthony Davis played. Now you're losing a lot of offense, but Mark Williams is a dynamite defender. He's had a really good last 2 months of the NBA season. He seems like he really took a step up, and the Lakers bought in on that young asset. So they did try to bolster their defense a little bit, but yeah, they're going to try to outscore the opponent with two amazing world-class talents. Don't get it twisted. LeBron James is still incredible at basketball. He scored 40 points last night as we're recording this on Thursday. LeBron James became the oldest player to ever score 40 points in a game. And I'll let you know, do you know who the youngest person ever to score 40 points in a game is? Boris, I bet you can guess. It is LeBron James, indeed. LeBron James Sr., that is not Bronny. But yeah, man. So the Lakers are set up for a long time now. Luka Doncic is only 25, arguably has not even hit his prime yet. And now he's probably going to be a Laker for life. I mean, that, famous last words, but I couldn't see this guy leaving. Los Angeles, the bright lights, the big city. As soon as you get to LA, people usually stay unless they're shipped out of town like Anthony Davis.
Right? It's crazy to think, though, the work that the Lakers put in to even get Anthony Davis, right? And then they just low-key just trade him out.
Yeah, it is funny. That was a huge deal. They traded a lot of future assets to get Davis. But if you look at all those future assets for Luka, who was so young at the time and now is still so very young, it kind of makes a little more sense. And they did win a title with Anthony Davis. He was a very good Laker. But it's just funny. You see all these people like talking about the concerns with Luka, and I truly believe Luka is a better bet to play a full season than Anthony Davis ever will be again. Mm-hmm. Like all of those concerns should exist with Davis too. Now, is Davis a fat alcoholic? No, he is not. But neither is Luka Doncic. Really, he's not. I mean, he's not like fat in the traditional sense. Alcoholic, I don't know. I'm not backstage with him pounding beers, but yeah, this was a jaw dropper. Probably the most shocking trade in any sport of my lifetime. It's up there with Patrick Roy getting traded for my Canadians, and even then that wasn't a shock because old Patty Roy told the Canadians he would never play for them again and was sitting out when he was traded. So he kind of forced their hand. This one came out of nowhere. I think this is the most shocking trade of my life.
Gretzky to LA, right? Like, I think this is legit. Since Gretzky to LA, this might be one of the biggest, most shocking trades.
And what do you know? Los Angeles gets another one. And I guess I was technically alive for the Wayne Gretzky trade. 1988, August 9th, that happened. I just Googled that. And yeah, I was technically alive, but barely for that trade. So I guess this is, maybe the second, maybe the third. But yeah, again, like, oh my God, what an absolutely crazy move. Lots of weird moves in the NBA. The San Antonio Spurs look to be trying to win already. They acquired De'Aaron Fox from the Kings to pair De'Aaron Fox with super freak Victor Wembanyama. That's an awesome trade that got completely buried by the huge Luka news.
Yep. Another big one, Jimmy Butler finally gets his wish, and he is out of Miami as he joins the Golden State Warrior and signs a 2-year extension that's keeping him with the Warriors up until the 26-27 season.
Yes, that one's very interesting. Jimmy is a player who I could see aging pretty well. I don't know if he's going to be scoring 40 points in 5 years like LeBron is at 40. But Jimmy was never the best athlete. He was never like a Vince Carter. He was always intelligence, guile, strength, just being that annoying dick to play against. He kind of has like a dad pickup style of game. So I think Jimmy Butler is going to age pretty well. He basically is a better Andrew Wiggins. So they traded Wiggins for Butler. Good move.
That's exactly what happened. Good move there. Jimmy Butler's happy. The Warriors are happy. The Warriors have assets through the late 20s. Good for them. DeAndre Hunter joins the Cavaliers. Matt, the Cavaliers are making a push for a deep playoff run, and getting DeAndre Hunter from Atlanta is huge.
Yes, last time we were on this podcast, we spoke about how shocking the Cavs have been. They were going to be good this year, but no one expected them to be this good. And the Cavs have slowed down a little bit. I think when we recorded last, they were like 30-4 or something, like 30 wins, 4 losses. They were on like a 70 win pace almost, which is insane. They're not that good, but the Cavaliers are a danger to the Celtics' throne in the East. I would say the Celtics are obviously the favorites to win the East. You'd probably say Cleveland's the second best team in the East, all things considered.
Easily at this point, legitimately. The only reason I would put the Celtics above the Cavaliers at this point is experience and that playoff experience that this Cavaliers team doesn't have. The Sacramento Kings making moves as well, landing former Raptor Jonas Valanciunas and Zach LaVine.
Yeah, they got Levine back in the De'Aaron Fox trade. See, like it's an interesting thing for Sacramento. They're kind of that team in between. Like we talk about the Blue Jays being a lot of times, because Sacramento did trade their best player, De'Aaron Fox, to the Spurs, but they're still trying to improve their team. It seems like, I get it. You can't just quit. You can't just stop playing basketball. But it is strange to me that they tried to add pieces after dealing such a huge piece in De'Aaron Fox. But you can't just throw in the towel. I do get it. The Raptors made a couple interesting moves.
Speaking
the Raptors
of not throwing in the towel, the Raptors making major move. Let's talk about this one, because this one is being talked on all of the shows around the U.S., which is hilarious. This is probably the first time they're talking about the Raptors since 2020. Raptors getting from the New Orleans Pelicans, Brandon Ingram. That is huge.
Yes, former Los Angeles Laker, who Magic Johnson once called untouchable in trades. Brandon Ingram, now a Toronto Raptor. Incredible offensive talent, really no defense to speak of. But when he's right, Brandon Ingram can score the basketball with almost anyone. In a lot of ways, he's the exact player the Raptors needed. But this is a team, the Raptors, that are like, they went on a run in the past couple weeks to go from god awful to simply bad. Mm-hmm. They're still probably not going to even make the play-in tournament this year. This is a deal for the future, and a little bit of a strange one to bring Brandon Ingram in on the surface. But the Raptors feel like with Ingram, with RJ, who's a little superfluous now, who might get moved, but with Ingram, with RJ, with Scotty Barnes, they have some kind of, nucleus. Emmanuel quickly. They're looking for a playoff spot next year and beyond. So the Raptors had to trade a first-round pick in this deal, but it was Indiana's 2026 first-round pick that they traded, not their own, not a 2025 first. So if the lottery is willing, Boris, they should still be in the top 5, top 10 of this draft, adding another piece to all of this stuff. And then they have a really interesting young core going forward. So honestly, when I first saw this, I was like, what? Why? But then the more you think of it, you're like, you know what? I kind of see what they're trying to do.
And they must have some indication whether they can re-sign him or not. He is a free agent at the end of the season. That's the one part that I'm iffy on.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto is a beautiful city. It's fucking cold right now. I'm not sure how a man who's last spent his time playing in New Orleans and previous to that California is going to like the Toronto weather. But yeah, man, if they don't re-sign him, this is an abject failure of a deal. I feel like they have to have something on the table immediately, if not already.
That's that actually, and that's the thing, right? The fact that it wasn't announced that he re-signed has me a little worried, but we'll see what the Raptors have cooked up. But a very interesting move for the Raptors. If anything, it's going to put some asses in seats. Not that the Raptors need that, because if you look at the ACC every game, that place is fucking full.
Even still, even with this weird, mediocre team, the Raptors do have noisy fans. Sometimes that noise can be a little misguided and silly, but the Raptors do have a very passionate, very, very heated fan base. So yeah, it's fun times in Toronto to see how this all shakes out and develops. But right now, it's a total 2K team. It's such like a weird roster.
It really is. It really is. But Toronto making moves not only in basketball, but also in baseball. If you want to talk about questionable moves, right? A lot of people here in Toronto just want Shakins, Ross Atkins, and Shapiro to make moves. And boy, oh boy, did they, because they signed a 1-year deal to Max Scherzer, pitcher, older pitcher, injury-prone pitcher at this point. Thoughts on that, Matt?
Well, I mean, he's 40 years old. He missed last season, basically all of last season, with back, hamstring, and arm injuries. So it's like, I don't think we can count on him at all. I don't think we can reliably say this is our number 2 or number 3 starter, pencil him in for X amount of innings. I think you take what you can get, and whatever he gives us is a bonus. This is awesome to have this guy in the bullpen on the roster, helping out those young pitchers. If we're playing 2K, passing his badges on to the younger talent. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to have this guy around in the fold. I would not expect much. Not saying he can't do it. This guy he's a 3-time Cy Young winner, right? Like, he's one of the best pitchers. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Max Scherzer is going to the Hall of Fame. Former MLB champion with the Nationals, if I'm not mistaken. This guy's a fucking real one, but he's 40 and banged up. So we're going to see. Not my money. I'm glad Rogers dropped a bag on this guy, if for nothing else than to be an assistant coach.
Yeah. And to sell some merch, get some asses in seats, because you know that Toronto's going to need it at this point, right? Like, man, it's interesting move. Interesting moves for the Jays, but the Dodgers just keep signing people, and that's the thing, right? Like, it's LA, it's a destination to begin with, and when you have owners who want to win, they are going to put the cash down, and and this is why I don't think anyone should be against what the Dodgers are doing. When Steinbrenner talks shit about you, you know you're doing something right.
Yeah, so it's not the real Steinbrenner. It's the fake one. It's kind of like Donald Trump Jr. talking shit about you. His dad has been long dead for years now, Boris. Yeah. But just like Donald Trump Jr.'s. But no, I know exactly what you mean. Like, baseball needs a villain. Sports are better when there are villains, and we've seen this blueprint done in baseball. And when the Yankees were buying all the talent in the world, they didn't win the World Series every year. It's a 162 game season. It's a very, very harsh and unforgiving playoff format. Like, there's, you got to play the games. Baseball, like, any given summer night, any team can beat any team. Any pitcher can hang that curveball or that slider. Baseball is an awesome sport for that reason. Like, we saw teams like Kansas City last year, the Detroit Tigers last year go on runs. Nobody expected them to be anything yet. Both of those teams made the playoffs last year. So you never know. Having said that, the Los Angeles Dodgers, if you look at their roster, if you look at their lineup and their bullpen right now, that's one of the best baseball teams ever assembled. There is so much fucking talent on the Dodgers, dude. It's shocking.
Yeah, Roberts, just take a back seat and let your players play. Like, at this point, just let them do what they do.
Really, he can only make it worse. He can only Tony Khan this thing and stick his fingers in the pie and make it worse, not better. Yeah, less is more, as patriarch of this show, Jason Agnew, used to say.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, man, we are 49 days up until things get going in baseball. And man, this season's going to be interesting, right? Like it's this season is going to be so interesting. Just considering, the NL West, right? And the Dodgers, like they are heavily favorites to win, and no one's going to want them to win. And like you said, baseball works best when there is a villain, that heel team that you just want to see lose.
Absolutely. And something about the Dodgers, they're a likable heel. They're like The Rock in 1998. I love the Dodgers, but I love to hate them. You know what I mean? But you look at that roster 1 through 26, is it now? 27 MLB players on a roster. It's fucking staggering. They have so much talent, so much raw skill in that lineup up and down. You forget about a guy like Fred Freeman or even Mookie Betts, who would be the best player on like 27 other teams.
Yeah. That's the thing. That is the thing, man. It is insane. This roster is insane. A roster that is built to win, a roster that is meant to win, and we'll see if they can win. I doubt it. I doubt they'll be able to repeat, but that's just me. That's just my personal, most humble opinion, because Roberts is going to Roberts. I've seen it so many times, and yeah, I'm not going to be shocked when he does something dumb. That will cost them the World Series at some point down this season. But man, baseball inching closer to starting. I'm really excited for that for many reasons, if not for the warmer weather.
Yes. That's like, it's always a plus getting that sunshine in Canada and therefore the world. So the Toronto Blue Jays have made some nice moves this offseason. I really like getting Jimenez from the Cleveland Guardians. They got Scherzer, as we've already talked about. They signed Anthony Santander, big masher from Baltimore. Jays have made some moves. They're still in on Alex Bregman. Apparently, Bregman himself, this is what I've read, just, gossip on the internet. We'll see how true it is. Apparently, the Jays are the high bidder or one of the highest bidders. They're really pushing hard for Bregman. Bregman himself wanted to go back to Houston, but Houston doesn't really seem to want to pay the contract that he wants. And a late suitor that has come in are the Detroit Tigers, apparently sniffing around Alex Bregman. His old manager, AJ Hirsch, who was the lone casualty in the Houston Astros cheating scandal, went to Detroit, turned that team around, and now he's stealing old Astros back to the squad. I kind of hope Bregman sides with the Detroit Tigers if he's not coming to Toronto.
Right. That'll be an interesting move there. Even the Mets making moves as they sign Pete Alonso back to the team, which essentially takes them out of any Vladdy talks.
Let's hope. You would think they just re-signed their old first baseman, but the Jays were going to bring in Pete Alonso apparently to be mostly DH, which the Jays do need. That is a hole in the lineup. Yeah, man, we shall hope. I will feel a lot better once the notification comes down that he has been signed, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I'm gonna be sleeping, with one eye open until we actually see the news. It's scary. It could very well be the last season that Vladimir Guerrero plays in Toronto.
Yep. Like I still maintain we are going to keep either Vlad or Bichette. Both of them will not be Jays in a year's time.
I think that's wise, buddy. I think that's completely correct. I think Bo probably last year played himself out of a really big contract. He's going to have a massive, massive year. And he can make himself $100 million bonus on the end of his contract if he does come out and have like an MVP quality season.
Yep, exactly. Anything else you want to chat about around the MLB?
I think that pretty well covers it for baseball talk. Keeping expectations low, realistic. I hope for Max Scherzer. Don't think he's going to be the number one ace in Toronto. Boy, that would be nice though. But it's still a great signing to see Scherzer, Santander. People are sleeping on the Jays a little bit. They've actually had a pretty good offseason.
They really have. And let them sleep. Let people sleep on the Jays, right?
Yes.
I think that the Jays perform better when expectations are low, as opposed to last season and the season before, where people were crowning them World Series champs. Don't you remember back in 2012 when we got everyone, through those trades, and those few seasons were rocky up until 2015.
Yeah, I do. I totally remember that. Yeah, the Bautista, Josh Donaldson, Edwin Encarnacion years. Boy, that was a fun team to cheer for. Let's hope we get some of that coming up this late summer and fall.
Yeah, man. We'll see what happens there. All right, let us turn the page to the NHL. The NHL really getting into the thick of things, similar to the NBA. What do you want to talk about the NHL, man? There's just some interesting storylines happening, that's for sure.
The thing that's most intriguing to me right now is not even actual NHL games. It's not the sanctioned league play. It is the upcoming Four Nations face-off. The NHL has drawn up like a four-country all-star game, basically, to replace their all-star weekend and all-star break. They have Canada versus the United States versus Sweden versus Finland in a little round-robin tournament. That's going to be very intriguing. Obviously, Canada and the States beefing a little bit right now. Our relationship has been stronger in the past. There are hockey fans, not just hockey, but basketball, all sports, booing the opposing anthem when a Canadian team or an American team comes to town. That anthem gets booed. On Saturday, February the 15th, on the same day as AEW Grand Slam and NXT Vengeance Day, which we will be covering here at A Plus Sports, Canada plays the United States best on best in Montreal, 8 p.m. Wild dogs could not keep me from that game, Boris. I will not be watching those two wrestling shows live. I will be watching that hockey game. That's not only the most interesting hockey game of the year, but I care more about that game than I do the Super Bowl. Straight up. I am so pumped to see what happens. US versus Canada in Montreal, Saturday, February 15th, as part of this weird fucking tournament.
Yeah, weird tournament indeed, but let's see. I think because it is a international tournament, the players are going to give a shit, right? Which is something that like we say about any All-Star game outside of the MLB All-Star game. It's they need to find a way for players to give a shit. We don't want players to get injured, but we do want them to give a shit about the results.
And I'm sure they will, because another thing too, and this is kind of the NHL fell backwards into this, but because they've been so reticent to let their players go to the Olympics, because there hasn't been a World Cup since like 2015 or 16 or whatever it is. This is the first international best on best tournament in like half a generation or more. It's been a long time for a lot of these players to get the chance to do this. And guys like Austin Matthews, the late Johnny Gaudreau, people like that, they had to play on that weird Team North America in the most recent Hockey World Cup. So they really haven't had a chance to put on the Team Canada or the Team USA jersey. So this is a huge moment for a lot of these players. We're getting to see McDavid wearing the maple leaf again, going against Matthews wearing them stars and stripes. Buddy, my dick is on fire with rock and roll. Let's go.
There we go. Really looking forward to that. Should be a good little tournament. Honestly, I'm looking forward to, like you said, just because we haven't seen the best on best in so freaking long. All right. NHL, man, it's going to be very interesting. Shall we talk about that little pointy ball game that's happening later on this weekend?
The hand egg. One last thing. Did you see Ryan Hartman fucking pedigree Ottawa Senator Tim Stützle into the ice? Yeah. Like that's I think we could have a full podcast about the disappearance of the enforcer and the physical change in hockey and how it used to be such a violent game and it really isn't anymore. But this might be my old man on the porch opinion, but I truly believe if there were still enforcers, if there was any threat of physical consequence for a guy slamming another guy's head into the ice, a guy like Ryan Hartman wouldn't fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like, he has the freedom to DDT Tim Stützle into the ice and get a 10-game suspension. Yes, obviously there were consequences, but back in the day, Chris Neal for the Ottawa Senators would have broken that motherfucker's jaw. Do you know what I mean? And I guess it's better for the world and for the sport that we don't have that, but is it? But is it really? It's an interesting debate.
You know what we should do? I've been waiting to bring on the sheriff on this show. We should have this discussion with him, a former enforcer, long known for, I think he has the most penalty minutes in the few games he played in the NHL, things like that. So I think that's a great conversation to have because I know he has a lot of opinions about this.
That's awesome. I would love to have that talk. We should definitely do that. You know what would be a fun stat? We need to call up Sportsnet stats and see if they can do the research on this. Most penalty minutes per game ever. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was the sheriff. That'd be pretty cool. But if you've only played 10 games, but you somehow amassed 200 penalty minutes, do you know what I mean? Exactly. Penalty minutes per game is a fun stat.
It's like Shoeless Joe, right? It's like Shoeless Joe.
Exactly right, buddy. All right, let's talk some hand egg.
Some hand egg. It is the Super Bowl this weekend. Kansas City Chiefs over Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. What else can we say?
You're picking the Chiefs. You're going with the Chiefs.
My heart says Chiefs. Sorry, my brain says Chiefs, but my heart says the Eagles at this point.
Same. I think I'm cheering for the Birds in this game. I do think if you look at their rosters, Kansas City's sick. It's not a far gap. But I think the Eagles are the better team. They have more talent. Their defense is spectacular with young Jalen Carter rushing the passer. They have a really good pass rush. They drafted 2 rookies, cornerbacks. Cooper DeJean has had an awesome year. They have so much talent, the Eagles, on both sides of the ball. This comes down to what we said when we were first talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and doing our NFL preview. If the Eagles don't beat themselves, if they take care of the football, if they run it, if Jalen Hurts doesn't make bad decisions, doesn't throw interceptions, the Eagles should win, man. I truly think that the only team in football that can beat the Philadelphia Eagles are the Philadelphia Eagles. And I've been waiting for them to beat themselves, to screw themselves over, to make that mistake. And maybe their heads are screwed on right this year. Maybe they will stop the evil empire, Patty Mahomes and T Swift and T Kelsey, from winning this Super Bowl. So yeah, it's just a matter of protecting the ball, running the shit out of it, and Jalen Hurts not throwing bad interceptions.
Yep. That's pretty much what it comes out to. That is the best analysis. That's, the 30 seconds you took there, that is literally going to be hours and hours of analysis throughout this weekend.
Already has been for sure. Yep. But I don't know if I would bet on this game. It's very, very close. And Kansas City obviously has such a reputation preceding them. They're on the precipice of being the first ever back-to-back-to-back three-peat Super Bowl champions. That has never happened before in the Super Bowl era. Back in the day, I think Cleveland and maybe Green Bay won 3 NFL titles in a row. Yep, but yeah, since the merger in the late 60s, has never happened. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a very interesting, very fun game. Gonna have a couple people over. Boris, if you're bored Sunday night, come on over. Let's just save that lazy boy for you, make some nachos and such.
Right? Yeah, man. Hey, look, it's the Super Bowl, and I love all the people saying, "Oh, they're going to boycott the game. They're not going to watch it." Let's look at the ratings. I bet you any money it's going to have some of the highest ratings in recent memory. Why? Because everyone wants to watch the Chiefs lose. What did we just say about the Dodgers?
1,000%. It's sports are better when there is an enemy. 1,000%, man. That's absolutely correct. My family group chat, which consists of me, my mother, and my 2 sisters. So I am the only male in this group chat, and they've been blowing up my phone all morning, talking to each other about the Super Bowl, talking about T Swift and T Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. I literally haven't even sent a message yet, and this Super Bowl talk is happening. But the filthy casual as Boris are wrapped up in this. I will say though, in terms of like build up, in terms of like the week leading up to the game, I do think there's a little bit of a lack of coverage for the Super Bowl this year. Part of that is because the Luka Doncic trade was so crazy, and part of that is because what's happening in the United States right now is dominating news. Every day there's another fire that seems like it has been caused. Like politically, there's a lot of news, as there usually is, but it's right now it's even more pronounced. And in sports, there's a lot of news. So we're kind of forgetting about the Super Bowl. But once Sunday 6 p.m. Eastern hits, people are going to be parked in front of the telly.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it's going to be a wild game, and we'll see what happens there, man. It's going to be a very interesting weekend. At our next show, we'll talk about all that and so much more. We'll probably cover some more of that, the Four Nations Cup or whatever they're calling it. Yeah, man. Tons of sports going on. It's always a good time. Baseball just around the corner. We're going to be doing our baseball preview in a few weeks. As spring training is just around the corner, man.
It's crazy, as if spring is just around the corner. It's already February 7th. We're rolling through this year. Actually, it's funny. You see a lot of memes like, oh, January lasted so long, like the never-ending January. Maybe it's just because I don't care about the world. But no, it felt like January went in a blink of an eye to me. Like it flew by, and now we're already in February. But yes, the Four Nations Cup will have started by the next time we're talking at you. I believe that starts in hockey on the 12th, on the Wednesday, the first game. I think the first game is Canada versus Sweden on the 12th of February. Yeah, man, crazy times. What a time to be alive. What a time to be a sports fan.
That's exactly it, man. That's exactly it. Sports, gotta love them. So much to talk about, so much to cover, so much to enjoy. And that is why we do this show, because we just love talking about sports, and we love chatting, and we might as well put some mics in front of us and have some fun. Matt, anything else you want to chat about?
I think that covers it. Did you have a soccer thing that you wanted to touch on before we get out of here?
We'll touch on that in a couple weeks.
Perfect.
Yeah. We'll touch on that in a couple weeks. I want to see some things happen, but yes, we are going to talk some sack here as the North American season really gets underway with the MLS and whatnot. But yeah, man, yeah. I think this is a nice little moment to wrap things up and get ready for the weekend. It is a huge Super Bowl weekend here and wherever it is that you live. A+productions.com is the best place to find. And you can find all of the information for the 3 different feeds, which includes A+ Wrestling, A+ Sports, and A+ Entertainment. If you want to be part of the conversation, the best place to do that is searching for our Facebook group. And all you need to do is go to facebook.com and search for A+ Productions. And again, thank you so much for everyone who does participate. Honestly, some great chats, some great conversations, some great debates and discussions. Always a good time there over on the Facebook group, which again, facebook.com, and you search for A+ Productions. Matt, you and I are going to be back later this weekend as we do cover everything that happened in the world of pro wrestling, which again, man, it's been a crazy week. If you're a pro wrestling fan, we're going to be covering all of that on A+ Wrestling.
Yeah, dog. I imagine we'll try to record Sunday morning for a show that you can listen while you're prepping for the Super Bowl, while you're chopping onions and making chili and cooking up dogs and doing whatever it is you're doing for the bud. We're gonna have a little podcast coming at you, and then next Sunday there's 2 wrestling shows to cover. Because Grand Slam and Vengeance Day. And I'm going to be drunk as a skunk watching the U.S. versus Canada on that day. Great time, buddy. Good. It's good to be alive in the city of Toronto in 2025.
It really is. And again, thanks so much for listening. And on behalf of the entire A+ team, thank you. But most importantly, stay tranquilo.